Welcome to the What You Need to Know About Financial Aid. My name is Kathy Hill, and I'm the Financial Aid Liaison here at Laurel Ridge. Credit goes to Caitlin Lambert for the presentation materials. I know many of you are perfectly capable of reading, but to help our visually impaired friends, I'll cover what's on the slide. As we move through this presentation, you will learn more about financial aid processes, as well as the many terms and acronyms we use. This webinar is intended to provide general guidance and resources to assist you. So let's get started on what you need to know about financial aid, which is adapted from the NASFAA toolkit. Understand that the financial aid process can feel like a confusing puzzle, so we'll go through all the pieces. 1. What is financial aid? 2. Cost of attendance, which is COA. 3. The Student Aid Index, which is SAI. 4. Financial need. 5. Categories, types, and sources of financial aid. 6. Free application for federal student aid, which is the FAFSA. And 7. Special and unusual circumstances. When we use the term financial aid, this can consist of a variety of funding sources used to pay for college educational expenses. Financial aid consists of funds provided to students and families to help pay for college educational expenses. The amount and types of aid offered to a student is based on the school's cost of attendance, the COA, and the Student Aid Index, SAI, determined by the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, FAFSA. Cost of attendance is an estimation of the educational cost a student can expect to experience while they're enrolled. Typically, the COA is based on a full academic year, which is normally fall and spring. The major puzzle pieces are tuition and fees in orange, housing and food in green, books and supplies in yellow, transportation in pink, and miscellaneous and personal expenses in blue. The COA consists of two types of educational costs: direct costs and indirect costs. Direct costs are billed or paid directly to the college, such as tuition and fees, on-campus housing, or school meal plans. Indirect costs are necessary or required expenses not paid directly to the college. These can include transportation, required licenses, certifications or professional credential costs, and personal care items. Colleges combine direct and indirect costs to create the COA. COAs can vary greatly among colleges. Is Student Aid Index, SAI. This is the number calculated from completing the FAFSA. It's used to evaluate a student and or their family's financial resources to go to college. The FAFSA looks at the student contribution in the dark blue puzzle piece, and then in the light blue puzzle piece, the spouse or the parent contribution for dependent students. The number resulting from the evaluation of a student's and family's approximate financial resources for the student's college education is the SAI, which is represented by the green puzzle piece. This number is not what a family is expected to pay. It is only used to determine a student's aid eligibility. The SAI is the same regardless of what college the student attends. Determining financial need. So why are COA and SAI important in this process? We use it to determine a student's financial need for the year. Financial need determines how much and what types of aid a student may receive. It's important to note that colleges may not be able to offer enough financial aid to meet the student's total financial need. Here's the simple formula. The cost of attendance minus the Student Aid Index equals financial need. Now that we know how financial need is determined, let's review the categories and types of financial aid. Categories are need-based aid eligibility and it's determined by analyzing a family's financial situation, which is typically by completing the FAFSA. However, some schools may collect additional information, and there is the VASA for Virginia residents who are not U.S. citizens or aid-eligible non-citizens. Non-need-based aid may be offered based on a student's ability, talent, or unique characteristics such as academic achievements, athletic ability, musical talent, ethnic heritage, just to name a few. Financial aid. Our first types of financial aid are gift aid on the right. This includes scholarships, represented by the pink puzzle piece, and grants, represented by the green puzzle piece. Gift aid is funding that doesn't need to be repaid. However, to continue to receive the funds, there are requirements that need to be maintained, such as satisfactory academic progress. Scholarships are typically based on merit, which are good grades, skill, such as athletics, or unique characteristics. Grant funds are provided based on financial need as determined by the FAFSA or other form. Our second type of financial aid is self-help aid, which requires some sort of action to use it. For work study, represented by the dark blue puzzle piece, the student is allowed to earn money to pay educational costs. This may be a check or non-monetary compensation like food and housing at a 4-year college. Work study is a great opportunity to build real work experience while taking classes. Since your success as a student comes first, students work no more than 20 hours a week. Loans, represented by the light blue puzzle piece, are monies that a student or parent must repay with interest. Loans are truly an investment in the future, so we encourage students to only borrow what they really need. Repayment typically begins 6 months after a student finishes their program, drops below half-time enrollment, or stops attending school. Sources of financial aid can come from the federal government, represented by the yellow puzzle piece, states in red, employers in light blue, colleges and universities in the green puzzle piece, as well as private sources represented by the dark blue puzzle piece. Now let's talk about the various federal programs. Pell is the largest federal grant program. This grant is a form of need-based aid that doesn't need to be repaid. The amount the student receives is based on a variety of factors. Then we have the TEACH grant, the Teacher Education Assistance for College and Higher Education. Students must have and maintain a 3.25 GPA each term. They must agree to teach full-time for at least 4 years within 8 years of graduating college at a school serving a high percentage of low-income students, which are Title I schools. They must teach a specific high-need subject, and the grant funds become a direct, unsubsidized loan if the student doesn't meet the requirements. Next, we have the Federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, the FSEOG. It's a need-based grant, and that means students are usually eligible for a federal Pell Grant as well. It's targeted to the neediest students. The Federal Work Study, FWS, is a need-based student employment program. It allows the students to work on or off campus, and the earnings do not count against future Title IV eligibility. The Federal Direct Student Loans are loans for students. The interest rates and terms are usually better than a typical commercial loan. A cosigner and good credit is not required. The amount varies by the academic standing or grade level. There are also direct subsidized loans and are need-based. The interest is paid by the federal government while the student is in school. Direct unsubsidized loans are non-need based and the government does not pay interest for the student. Repayment usually begins 6 months after the student graduates or leaves school. Then we have Federal Plus loans, which are loans for parents of dependent undergraduate students, as well as graduate or professional students who are borrowing on their own behalf. It is non-need based, and the amount is based on the cost of attendance minus other aid. The borrower must not have any kind of adverse credit or must have a credit-worthy endorser. If the parents of a dependent student aren't able to borrow a PLUS loan because of poor credit, the student may be eligible to borrow more direct unsubsidized loan funds. Repayment for parent borrowers usually begins after the loan is fully disbursed. Repayment may be deferred if the student is enrolled at least half time. Government is the largest source of financial aid. It's provided primarily based on financial need. Students must apply each year using the FAFSA, and eligibility requirements must be met. Rules and requirements are established by the government and can change from year to year. That's why you must fill out the FAFSA application each year. To recap, these are the various federal aid programs. Federal Pell Grant in pink, the FSEOG, the Federal Supplemental Opportunity Grant in light blue, the Federal Work Study Program in green, the Teacher Education Assistance for College and Higher Education Grant in blue, the Federal Direct Student Loans in pink, and then Federal Plus Loans in light pink. Frequently, there are changes related to loans, so if you do get a loan, make sure you know the regulations and keep up to date. Now, next, let's go into a deeper dive on each of the federal programs. The first federal program is the Pell Grant. The amount is based on a variety of factors, including the student's enrollment, the cost of attendance, student aid index, annually published federal poverty guidelines, the U.S. tax return adjusted gross income, state of legal residence, family size, and tax filing status. The amount of Pell awarded will remain the same no matter what college you attend. It's important to compare any financial aid awarded since the cost of attendance can vary from college to college and even within majors. Please be aware the government determines Pell eligibility, not the college. Next, we have the FSEOG, the Federal Supplemental Opportunity Grant, which is a need-based grant. Usually students are eligible for the federal Pell Grant, and it's targeted to the neediest students. Students must be enrolled at least half time in 6 or more financial aid eligible credit hours to have a Pell eligible SAI to qualify. Laurel Ridge Community College has limited FSEOG funds, and awards are made on a first-come, first-served basis, along with the enrollment status. Funds can be used for any education-related expense, including tuition, books, supplies, transportation, and child care. The Federal Work Study Program is a need-based student employment program. It allows students to work on or off campus, and earnings do not count against future Title IV eligibility. At Laurel Ridge, the hourly rate is currently $8 an hour, and enrollment for at least 6 credits during the semester is required. Your work assignment typically will be assigned by the requesting department, and they set the hours per week needed. If you receive a Pell Grant and wish to be considered for this program, please contact the Financial Aid Office to complete the application process. FWS cannot be applied to your student account to cover tuition, but it's paid in the form of a paycheck every 2 weeks. The Teach Grant, students must have and maintain a 3.25 GPA each term. They must agree to teach full-time for at least 4 years within 8 years of college graduation and teach at a school serving a high percentage of low-income students. They must also teach a specific high-need subject, and those grant funds will become a direct unsubsidized loan if the student does not fulfill all of the teaching requirements. Teach Grant recipients must now communicate directly with the U.S. Department of Education to 1. Submit and manage the Teach Grant certification forms, 2. Upload suspension and discharge requests on studentaid.gov website, and 3, request a voluntary teach grant conversion or loan conversion. Federal direct student loans. As the title shows, these are direct loans. If you need to take out a loan, only take out the amount you need. Laurel Ridge does not automatically award loans. You must fill out our form to request them. The interest rates and terms are usually better than typical commercial loans. A cosigner in good credit is not required. The amount varies by academic standing or grade level. Direct subsidized loans are need-based and the interest is paid by the federal government while you're in school. Direct unsubsidized loans are non-need based and the government does not pay interest for you while you're in school. Plus loans. The amount is based on the cost of attendance minus any other aid. The borrower must not have any adverse credit or they must have a credit-worthy endorser. If the parent of a dependent student is unable to borrow a PLUS loan due to poor credit, the student may be eligible to borrow more direct unsubsidized loan funds. Repayment for parent borrowers usually begins after the loan is fully dispersed. Repayment may be deferred if the student is enrolled at least half time. Source of financial aid is state government. Residency requirements usually apply. Aid may be provided based on merit and financial need. The state uses the information from the FAFSA and/or state aid applications for those not eligible to submit the FAFSA. Deadlines vary by state. Be sure to check for the deadlines for your state on the FAFSA website. The QR code will take you directly to the page. You must meet residency requirements to qualify for in-state tuition. State residency is not determined by financial aid here at Laurel Ridge. Colleges and universities funding with very similar rules. These aid funds can be based on merit and financial need or a combination of both. It may be gift aid or self-help aid. Information from the FAFSA and/or institutional applications are used in the selection process. The deadlines and priority application dates and application requirements vary by institution. Be sure to research these early so you don't miss out. Private sources, which can include foundations, businesses, churches, civic organizations, and charitable organizations. You should research what's available in the community, including any organization which you or your parents belong to. Private donors often develop their own application and eligibility criteria and procedures. As we hear about community scholarships, we post them on our Community Scholarships Opportunities website. Be sure to check it frequently. As listed on the slide, deadlines and application procedures vary. Begin researching private sources early. I recommend you keep a list of scholarships you qualify for, the dates and requirements. Also keep a document where you can cut and paste your demographic information into an application. I also have a video on the college's YouTube channel about applying for scholarships. Employers. If you or your parents are working, check with the Human Resources Department to see what sort of educational benefits they offer. Many have scholarships available to children of employees, or they may have educational benefits for their employees. Quite a few will reimburse costs based on the grades earned. Some local companies to check out that offer help: Chipotle, Chick-fil-A, Sheetz, McDonald's, Taco Bell, Verizon, and Walmart, to name a few. Educational benefits can vary widely, so make sure you understand the requirements. And you can find a list of companies offering educational support at bestcolleges.com. Like this little video of someone putting together a puzzle, I hope the puzzle pieces are starting to come together for you so you can begin to build your own financial aid picture. Does it all start? With the FAFSA. And what is the FAFSA? It's the free application for federal student aid. It's simply the form that collects demographic and financial information used to calculate the SAI. Colleges use SAI to offer financial aid, and it's available in English and Spanish. Apply. The FAFSA can be completed anytime during the academic year. The application typically opens October 1st. The 25-26 FAFSA is still open for summer, and the 26-27 FAFSA is open for next academic year. Colleges may set FAFSA priority deadlines. These are important because funding may be limited. Be sure to check the dates of the colleges you're applying to so you don't miss out. An idea of what you could qualify for now? The Federal Student Aid Estimator is a great tool to try out. It gives an early estimation of SAI and possible Title IV aid available. It does require demographic, income, and asset information. Now let's look at the FAFSA in more detail. Create a Federal Student Aid Identification, FSA ID. When you create your FSA ID, the process authenticates your identity. You and your parents or spouse will keep the FSA ID for life. You will create a username and password to complete the FAFSA. It's used through the whole financial aid process and every year you apply for aid. You, your spouse, if you have one, and your parents will have your own FSA ID that only the owner should create. The FSA ID is used for consent and approval to transfer federal tax information from the IRS to the FAFSA, as well as accessing certain U.S. Department of Education websites. Make sure that whatever school you plan to enroll in has your Social Security number so your FAFSA can be matched to your student account. The website is studentaid.gov/FSA-ID/create-account. There are 3 ways to complete the FAFSA. The dark blue puzzle piece shows applying online. The green puzzle piece with the PDF you can print as a hard copy, and the light blue puzzle piece shows the FAFSA on the phone. Encourage everyone to complete the FAFSA online when possible. As I mentioned previously, there is also the paper PDF, which will be available on the Student Aid website, or you can request it by phone. Calling for a copy is an option available for applicants who have limited or no internet access and are facing pressing deadlines. Applicants can reach a representative by calling 1-800-433-3243. However, please come to the college to complete your FAFSA if you don't have internet access. We will be happy to help you to complete the FAFSA. What can I say about the benefits of using the online FAFSA? The built-in edits prevent costly errors. Skip logic allows you to bypass unnecessary questions. There's no need to manually enter the federal tax information. It's a more timely submission process. You have more detailed instructions and help for common questions. And then you can check the status online, and it's a simplified application process. If you're looking for financial aid this summer, make sure you fill out the 25-26 FAFSA. This image from the FAFSA website shows the 25-26 FAFSA link is below the 26-27 one. You should also fill out the 26-27 FAFSA now to hear something back before classes start in fall. The online FAFSA asks is if you are starting the form as a student or a parent. If you plan to take classes, you do the student FAFSA. Parents will need to do a FAFSA for each child in college. All of these images come from the FAFSA website. Depending on who starts the FAFSA, the contributor can include the parent, the other parent, a student spouse, and the student. When you as the student start the FAFSA, you'll invite the necessary contributors, such as your parents if you're a dependent student. all contributors must provide the required information and sign their section of the FAFSA. If you aren't sure which parent is included in the FAFSA, use the QR code for a great infographic that breaks it all down. Other benefits to the FAFSA Online is using the Future Act Direct Data Exchange. It's much easier to call it the FADDX. It allows for students' individual federal tax information, FTI, to be directly transferred from the IRS to the FAFSA. Consent is required by all contributors on the FAFSA. The IRS transfers the information to populate the FAFSA income questions for most tax filers. This eliminates manual entry of tax and income information. By bringing all the FTI directly into the FAFSA, it reduces errors as well as requests for additional information from the colleges. Information is required: identity and contact information, consent for FTI transfers from the IRS, marital status, college plans, and then personal and unusual circumstances. Again, FTI stands for federal tax information. Also, the FAFSA pulls tax information from 2 years back. We know that financial situations can change dramatically in 2 years. If that's the case, please contact us to let us know those unusual circumstances. Also, you can have your FAFSA sent up to 20 different colleges using the online form to compare tuition costs and financial aid awards. FAFSA questions asked are to determine a student's dependency status for Title IV federal student aid purposes. Answer all the questions honestly when you fill out the FAFSA. If all the responses are no, the student is dependent and invites the student as a contributor, even if the parent does not provide funding to support the student. If yes to any question, the student is independent. In cases when the parent will not provide FAFSA information and there are no unusual circumstances, a student can apply for a direct unsubsidized loan. Unusual circumstances. When students have unusual circumstances and supporting documentation, an adjustment can be made to their dependency status, typically called a dependency override. The student doesn't have to provide parental data on the FAFSA and is considered provisionally independent. An estimated SAI will still be calculated, but the student will follow the school's process for the dependency determination. If the school determines the student is not independent, the student will only be eligible for a direct unsubsidized loan or will need to provide parent information on the FAFSA. Invite your parent to the FAFSA. You must provide their email, not yours, so they get an email invitation to complete their parental section of the FAFSA. Continuing with the next part of the student information section, the following information is requested: demographic information, citizenship status, parent's educational status, parent killed in line of duty, high school information. When the FAFSA is processed, the student citizenship eligible non-citizen criteria is verified. However, it does not verify the citizenship status of the parents. Parents do not need to be U.S. citizens or eligible non-citizens for their children to be eligible for federal student aid. And this information is not collected on the FAFSA. Complete the student financial information as to your current assets. Using the FADDX reduces the FTI questions asked since the data is transferred from the IRS. However, you will need to provide the information related to your available funds on the day you submit the FAFSA. So this is cash on hand as well as bank account information. Section completion. The last part of the student section allows you to list up to 20 colleges to receive your FAFSA using the online one. Using the PDF only allows for 10, and you must know all the school codes, while the online version has a search feature to find this. From there, you can review all the information provided, then sign and submit the application. The parent receives their invitation via email. They log in with their FSA ID to complete it. Parents only need one FSA ID, even for multiple children. This is the information collected from the parent in the FAFSA. Identity and contact information, consent for FTI transfers from the IRS, marital status, state of legal residence. When asking for marital status, it is the status as of the day the FAFSA is submitted. Parent financial information includes the receipt of means-tested federal benefits in the previous 2 years, tax filing status, family size and number in college, tax return information, and there will be minimal questions if the FTI is transferred from the IRS. Assets and other parent information. The financial information requested about means-tested federal benefits includes questions about the benefits received. This includes Medicare, Supplemental Security Income, which is SSI, free or reduced school lunches, SNAP, which is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and WIC, Women, Infants, Children's Programs. What counts as an asset? Determining what counts as an asset can be confusing, so here are some tips to help. There will also be help text in the FAFSA application as well. A family's primary home, as in where the family lives, is not reported as an asset on the FAFSA. Report the asset value as of the day the FAFSA is submitted. Asset information normally cannot be updated, and the family should contact the financial aid office if special circumstances exist. Who is included in the family size, you may ask? We also know that family living conditions can be unique, and here's how the family size is determined. For dependent filers in the blue puzzle piece, you'd have the student, the parent and spouse, parents' dependent children, even if they're living apart due to college enrollment, and then other people if they live with a parent. And this would include only if they're providing more than half of their support between July 1st and June 30th of the following year. As for independent filers in the green piece, the student and spouse, the student's dependent children, even if they're living apart due to college enrollment, and again, other people if they live with that person. If the other people are living with a parent, include them only if they're providing, again, half of the support between July 1st and June 30th of the following year. If you're ever unsure of who should be counted, please contact the financial aid office to go over your situation to get guidance. Final part of the parent section, review the information, and then the parent can sign and submit the FAFSA. Considerations when submitting the FAFSA. If an independent student is buried, the spouse information is required as well. The biggest issue is consent to transfer FTI from the IRS. This is required for all contributors, the student's spouse if applicable, the parent, and other parent if applicable. Students will not be eligible for Title IV aid if consent is not provided. Students, parents, and preparers may start, complete, and submit a FAFSA. We have the FAFSA processing results. Now that the FAFSA is submitted, what happens next? First, the student information, represented by the white puzzle piece, goes to the FAFSA processing system, FPS, represented by the green puzzle piece. FPS will process the submission and send the results to you and the schools you listed in the final white puzzle piece. The results include your SAI, messages related to database match issues, verification selection, and eligibility for Title IV funds. The schools receive the information electronically through a document called the Institutional Student Information Record, or ISER. You will receive a FAFSA submission summary directly from the federal site. FAFSA submission summary consists of the 4 sections listed: eligibility overview, FAFSA form answers, school information, and next steps. You can and should review it for any errors. And again, you have the ability to print it. In cases where the email address is not valid, a paper FAFSA submission summary is mailed. PS sends the ICER to the colleges listed in the FAFSA. The colleges will review it and may request additional documentation. It's important to know how the school will contact you. Is it via email? Student portal? How? At Laurel Ridge, we use the Message Center in SIS, the Student Information System. Be sure to monitor it frequently, at least twice a week, and submit any requested documents. Corrections. There may be times when you need to correct your FAFSA. If that's the case, you can do it by using online FAFSA, update it by a paper FAFSA submission summary, or submitting documentation to the college's financial aid office. It's best to use the online FAFSA. Correcting the paper form can take quite some time. You could also submit the changes directly to the financial aid office for processing. If you're concerned about making a correction, reach out to the financial aid office. We would much rather figure it out together now than cause other issues down the road. Special circumstances is our last piece of the puzzle, which I touched on previously. The FAFSA is only a snapshot of a student and family situation, so it doesn't capture unusual or unique circumstances. These can include different than unusual circumstances such as dependency overrides, unique conditions that can't be documented with a FAFSA, or circumstances have changed since filing, such as job loss. If you do have a special situation that needs to be considered, contact the financial aid office at each college for additional information. It's important to note each school may have a different process and required documentation. And once the decision is made, it's final and can't be appealed to the U.S. Department of Education. Here are some other possible special circumstances. A lot can change in the 2 years since taxes were filed. And the dark blue puzzle piece to the left, death of a parent or spouse. Going around the circle to the right, the green puzzle piece is unusual or uncovered medical dental expenses. In the light blue puzzle piece, the loss of employment or income. In the pink puzzle piece, divorce. In the dark blue puzzle piece, secondary school tuition. In the light green puzzle piece at the bottom, additional family members in college. In the light blue puzzle piece to the left of that one, extraordinary dependent care. You now have all the pieces of the puzzle to complete your financial aid picture using the FAFSA. If you want some help completing the FAFSA, let's work together. Know that we are here and happy to help. You can call us at 540-868-7130 or email us at finaid@laurelridge.edu. We host several campus events to help students and their families with the FAFSA. You can use the QR code to review some great resources posted on our website. Know that you can stop by the financial aid office during our normal office hours, and we're happy to help you with your financial aid questions. Again, this webinar is intended to provide general guidance and resources to assist you. Thanks so much for your time.